If it hadn't been for his brother, who had decided, at the age of almost 70, to have a heart attack while he was off having fun with his latest conquest. Marcus had been widowed at a relatively young age, and afterwards had never shown any serious intention of getting married again. In fact, he'd begun to spend his time with women whose ages seemed to get lower in direct correlation with his own getting higher. There seemed to be a dangerous correspondence between his getting older and his need to surround himself with youth, which was why Kirk was almost mathematically certain that his brother's final lover must have been between 20 and 30 years old. If he had lived another 5 years, he might have broken the sound barrier as well. Though he had been approaching his 70s, Marcus had always seemed to be the living picture of health, one of those people who never felt ill, never felt tired. There had been no sign of the impending tragedy. Nobody had expected it, not even Kirk, who was an expert at anticipating problems. This one, unfortunately, had escaped him, and he couldn't put his heart at peace. He was devastated to have lost his brother, of course, but even more he regretted the fact that he hadn't acted in good time to avoid the epicule disaster he was now preparing to face. He should have thought about it while he could still have controlled the course of events. He should have been able to foresee the problem and face it full on, even at the cost of a fierce battle with his brother. Kirk considered himself a calm man. He hated heated confrontations, especially family ones. But the question of who was going to take up the reins was something that he really shouldn't have ignored in such an irresponsible way. He still couldn't believe that Marcus had not left a will. Nothing, not even a couple of lines written on a sheet of toilet paper or on the back of a receipt from some bar. He had searched every single corner of the house and the office and contacted all the notaries and lawyers in the county and beyond before resigning himself to the truth. It was obvious that his brother had not expected to die so suddenly, and that he must have thought he had all the time in the world to deal with the delicate question of his succession. He should have known, though, that life is always full of unexpected surprises, rarely pleasant. An intelligent man like Marcus should have got his affairs in order and made some decisions, and instead he had done nothing. It was unbelievable. And now it would be all of them who would pay for his lack of foresight. Kirk wiped his forehead nervously with his hand as he watched the crowd in front of him getting noisier and noisier by the minute. Even James, sitting serious and composed on his right, did not seem to be handling it much better than he was. He was wearing, as always, his work uniform, a gray suit and a dark tie, but his expression was much more agitated than usual. "He can't not come," he whispered tensely. His uncle gave a nervous laugh, playing for time before answering. "Of course he can," he replied, pretending to be calm. "It's his right to ignore us, guaranteed by nothing less than our most beloved Constitution, even though, to be perfectly frank, his not turning up would be the best thing that could happen." A part of him actually hoped that the damn lunatic would decide to stay away from the meeting. His absence might cause some small problems when it came to the moment of voting, given the share of the company he possessed, but at least that way they wouldn't be exposed to public humiliation. "And leave us like this without a majority?" hissed James, gripping the pen he held in his hand so tightly that he almost snapped it in two. Kirk turned to look into his eyes, where all of his agitation was clearly visible. James, who had been a rock in recent years, was still not used to hiding his feelings when it came to family matters, but he would be forced to learn how to, just as many others had done before him. "There is every probability, but we must not show concerned smile. At the end of the day, that's what they're all here for." "What do you mean? To see us suffer?" his nephew asked resentfully. "Exactly. And we must not let that happen." And so Kirk smiled as if he had only one problem in the world, that of trying